He, of course, is Pirates broadcaster Joe Block, kind enough to join us on this lovely Florida morning. What's it like in Bradenton today, Joe?
Chilly start, and then I think it's going to get up into the 80s today, so little light jackets in the morning right now.
And no ball game today for the Pirates players. I'm sure they appreciate that, huh? They get a little chance to relax a little bit.
Well, it depends on where you stand. If you know you're on the ball club, absolutely, yeah. Take a day off from these practice games before the regular season gets started in 8 days. Rest the body a little bit, absolutely. If you're on the on the bubble of the ball club and you're trying to, you want 3 or 4 more at bats or another inning or two to impress the Pirates, well, then you're chomping at the bit today, looking for something to do to take your mind off whether or not you're going to come north with the Pirates.
Yeah, well, and you know what? Drew Maggi and Kanan Smith and Jigba, G1 Bay, Travis Swaggerty, those guys really are trying to force their way onto this ball club. That's a good thing.
Yeah, now 3 of those guys are in their early 20s, are on their way up, have made some big league appearances. And the other man that you mentioned there, Drew Maggi, he's going to turn 34 in May. He has never played in the major leagues. He has been on a major league roster for 2 days, and he's still alive technically on the roster. I don't know if the Pirates do indeed have him in their plans to go north, but it has been a nice story to have him in camp, have him do well in spring training, and if he does or if the Pirates have a need for him this year, boy, it'll be a great story for him to get some big league time because he's certainly put in the work. He was drafted by the Pirates in 2010 and is still playing baseball, so hoping for that first chance to be a major league player.
That would be a wonderful thing to happen at some point this season. If he doesn't make it coming out of Bradenton, hopefully he stays with the organization and they can call him up at some point later in the season because as they were saying yesterday, and you were on the TV broadcast, actually, Greg was on the TV broadcast, but as they were saying, 25 guys at the start of the season is not what it takes to get through a baseball season. You're going to need about half or twice that many in order to make a season. There's a lot of people that get a chance to play Major League Ball.
Yeah, we talk about who's going to be on the chalk lines on March 30th in Cincinnati, and that's fun because I think we've all gone through trying to make a team at some point, and so we can relate to the guys trying to do that with the Pirates this year. But really, last year the Pirates made a move on the second day of the season, so they had a different roster on day 2 than they did on day 1. So that's just what takes place over the course of a year. There are a lot of changes, injuries, and underperformance warrant those things to happen. So, you need. Even the best teams usually have 8 or 9 guys start games for them, and 40 other players at least rotate in and out throughout the year, if not more. So, and the Pirates in recent years, with all the auditions that they've had, have had into the 50s and 60s of players. So that's what takes place throughout the year. But it is a little bit romantic and nostalgic, I think, to talk about who might be there for day 1.
Yeah. Joe, you've seen a lot of baseball down through the years. Have you ever seen the kind of jolt that goes through a crowd when Andrew McCutchen gets up to the plate, and especially when he cranks one like he did yesterday?
Yeah, that was great. I mean, that was reminiscent of what we saw when he was at his very best, hitting the ball just to the right of center field with authority. That was a wind cutter. That was not some sort of lazy fly ball that just gets out because it's Florida. No, that was a catch special right there, and it really is just really neat to see him back in the black and gold. Talking with him at length yesterday about his vision for what he wants to do outside of play, with the Pirates. Clearly, he's a middle of the order hitter on the Pirates. He would have led the team in runs batted in last year. So he's going to be doing that. But what else does he want to do? And he was talking about how he really has a bigger sense of the team, the city, the franchise, and he really wants the Pirates to be back on top in baseball like they were a few years ago. He saw it all come together, and he feels like the Pirates have the ingredients for all that to come together again here soon, and he wants to be a part of it. So he's really excited for the season, using his words. And so when Kutch says he's excited for the season, that makes me excited for the season.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Can you imagine what's going to be going through his head on opening day at PNC Park, especially with Russell Martin and A.J. Burnett a part of all of this? Of course, they're celebrating 10 years. It's hard to believe it's been 10 years since the Cueto game and since that amazing season for the Pirates. What's Kutch thinking as he's standing out there on that baseball field watching that happen?
Well, I would think, first of all, now that he has 3 children and his oldest is probably getting to the age now where he can remember what's taking place. As a dad myself, I think about that too. Like, there might be some of that, getting to watch Dad play in black and gold, and that's where his greatest legacy has been as a player, of course. And then, like you said, with his old buddies there, throwing out the first pitch, the laughs, but also, I think the Pirates did a fantastic job of this. You think about how that group ties into this group. And AJ and Russell came over as free agents. And those were some of the key people that helped take the Pirates from a bunch of good young players who were trying to cut their teeth to a winning ball club and a very successful ball club. So I think that's what we're looking for, this year, next year, maybe even two, for the Pirates to make that step from, just having a lot of talent and a lot of good young players. Well, you need to win some ball games at some point. And so that's kind of what the emblem of what that era of teams did, and hopefully that what this group is going to do.
Joe Block is with us this morning, Pirates broadcaster. Another key member of that team, of course, was Neil Walker. Neil is one of those guys that you get a chance to work with now in the broadcast booth. That's quite the crew you get going there, and I'm sure the stories are different, and maybe the rhythm's a little bit different when you're working with, say, a Neil Young or a Neil Walker one time, maybe Neil Young. How about that? And then you get Matt Capps in there, Wayner. The various guys that you get to call games with, I'm sure that each of them brings something different and a little bit, I don't know, the rhythms are different, the stories are different, and I'm sure there's a great level of fun working with all of them.
Oh, yeah, and Kevin Young and Bob Walk, and having worked with Steve Blass, and I've worked with a lot of different people through the years, and everybody has a different personality, and so I think it's my job to really make sure that they're being showcased, especially when I'm on the TV side, because they get a little bit more room to talk over on television, and so that our fans can not only get to know them, but also so we can learn, and this goes on the radio side too, so we can learn from their expertise. I mean, the reason we have ex-players in the booth is because they play the game, and no matter how much homework I do or how many questions I ask, I can never tell you what it was like to stand in the box, and face this big league pitcher or throw a pitch in a pressure situation in a World Series like Bob Walk has, or for instance, or play in a playoff game like these guys have done. And they have. And so let's learn from them. And so that's what I view my role as, is just to make sure that I get out of the way as much as possible and let them explore their own minds and tell us their experiences that relate to the game that's going on in front of us. So, their personalities are all very different, and as I've gotten to learn all of them, they're all very cool, as you guys know, from having watched and listened to them. So I'm very lucky to be able to have a seat next to these guys year after year. It's really cool.
Joe, you'd mentioned the other day that you're preparing for the regular season right now. You're looking at the other teams and trying to get to know some of the things about them. The regular season will be starting up next week, and I know the excitement level builds for you as a broadcaster too. And so this season is coming along really, really quickly, and the team's going to pack it up here. Well, a week from yesterday. You're pretty well ready to depart from Florida and get ready to go with this thing, aren't you?
Well, I like every stage of things, Todd. I mean, right now I'm still looking at how this team's going to shape up for the season. Who's impressed? Kind of my penciling in some thoughts on what might take place over the course of the year. And so I'm kind of in that mode right now. But, yeah, also with an eye toward the 30th in Cincinnati, that there's going to be a game there, and that's going to count. And seeing a team that we haven't seen yet this year and getting ready for that, too. So, I can't say that I'm ready to go just yet, but when the wheels are up on Tuesday and the team heads to Ohio, I'll be ready for that then. I just got to bring a coat, that's all.
Yeah, that's true, too. Hey, Joe, thanks for spending some time with us today. Appreciate it.
Oh, I always enjoy it. Thanks again. Talk to you soon.
All right, bye now. Joe Block of the Pittsburgh Pirates with us here this morning. Our conversation brought to you by Delaney and Fritz PC, by A&A Construction, and by Sanso's Italian Deli.